The Sahara Desert might look like an ordinary, vast stretch of sand, but it's much more than that. From lost cities to fossils of animals that wandered the earth thousands of years ago, the Sahara Desert is full of mysteries. Today, join me as I show you what they found in the Sahara Desert that shocked the whole world. Let's get started. Number 1. The Lost Fortresses. Back in 2011, archaeologists found something that surprised everyone because finding a whole city in the middle of the Sahara might be the last thing one could imagine. They managed to unearth the remains of a lost city that was once fully established. To top that off, this city was found in one of the harshest parts of the African desert. A team of researchers from the University of Leicester utilized satellite imagery to find evidence of this lost city in the Libyan part of the Sahara. And guess what they found? A total of 100 structures, including fortified farms, several towns, and many villages, have castle-like structures. And most of these fortresses date back to AD 1 to AD 500. Researchers have stated that the Garamantes, a Saharan Berber people who are credited as the founders of the kingdom in modern-day Libya, built these fortresses. The Garamantes were advanced in both historical and cultural aspects, which can be confirmed by different ancient sources. The Leicester team, while studying these fortresses, also discovered mud brick remains and walls that were as high as 4 meters. But that isn't all. Traces of dwellings, field systems, and cairn cemeteries were also found in this place. In fact, wells and properly integrated irrigation systems were also discovered. For the longest time, it was said that the Garamantes were just barbaric nomads who caused trouble for others during the Roman Empire. But after the discovery of these fortresses, the concept has changed. It's safe to say that these people were not only highly civilized, but also super intelligent. They had proper written language and were also using state-of-the-art technologies. The lost fortresses were once a part of a highly organized state with villages and towns. Imagine what life must have been like in this place back in the day. And today, these buildings stand as ruins in the desert of the Sahara. Number 2. Charley Fortress. Located in the most isolated Egyptian oases in the heart of the Sahara Desert, this fortress holds a lot of mysteries. This unique fortress dates back to the 13th century and was built from a material known as a kerchief, which is essentially a mixture of salt rock and clay. This fortress is said to have been built to protect the people from the Bedouin attacks, and interestingly enough, just 3 days of heavy rain back in 1926 caused the fortress to crumble down. It is said that the now ruins were once buildings with 4 to 5 stories, and hundreds of people once lived here. There's an old mosque with chimney-shaped minarets too. Historians state that the inhabitants of this fortress didn't let any foreigners in for a very long time, and the ones who went in rarely ever came outside to tell the story of what happened inside. But even with such security, this fortress couldn't stay firm for a long time, and one rain marked the final end for it. Today it's just a tourist spot with not many facilities. It's important to note that the Charley Fortress had remained unknown to the world for a long time, especially because of its location. When discovered, this fortress left archaeologists in awe. Because how were these people even surviving in such a place? Number 3. Prototype ERG Czech 002. Back in 2020, something interesting was discovered in one of the remote regions of the Sahara Desert. It was an ultra-rare piece of an embryonic planet that existed even before Earth was born. The scientists named it ERG Czech 002 or EC002. It was said that this meteorite was actually forged in the crust of an ancient protoplanet. And the weirdest part is that it was confirmed to be the oldest known lava ever fallen and found on Earth. The meteorite was examined, and scientists confirmed that it was nothing like any other meteorite ever found on Earth. Weighing about 70 pounds, studies revealed that it was formed about 4.566 billion years ago. Before this, the oldest meteorite on Earth was only 1.34 million years old. Number 4. Nabta Playa. While other discoveries somehow make sense, this one had the scientists thinking for quite a while. For thousands of years, there's been a common tradition among humans to erect massive stone circles and align them with the sun and stars in order to mark the seasons. But the problem is, since the Sahara was believed to have been a desert from the beginning, the presence of such a thing there was pretty surprising. Located on the African side of the Sahara Desert, Nabta Playa is about 700 miles away from the Great Pyramids of Giza in Egypt. It's been confirmed that it's almost 7,000 years old, which makes it even older than Stonehenge and other similar structures found around the world. That also means that the Nabta Playa is the oldest astronomical observatory on Earth. It is said that a cattle-worshipping cult of nomadic people constructed it in order to mark the summer solstice and the beginning of the monsoons. While this structure is interesting in itself, its discovery was nothing less than a surprise either. Nabta Playa was discovered in the 1960s when Egypt was planning a major dam project along the Nile River. For this, they had to check the archaeological sites. While others were looking for temples and fortresses, one American archaeologist named Fred Wendorf decided to look at the desert. In 1973, as if luck was on Fred's side, a Bedouin guide named Ida Marif took him to Nabta Playa. At first, these stones looked like they were naturally formed, but soon he realized that it was something else. And today, after decades, Nabta Playa still stands as a wonderful discovery. Number 5. Libyan Desert Glass. Now this one's really interesting. Also known as Great Sand Sea Glass, this glass-like thing is actually mostly made of Le Chatelierite and is found in some areas of the Sahara Desert. Mostly it can be found in the parts of the desert of eastern Libya and western Egypt. Mind you, the Libyan desert glass is found nowhere else in the world. For years, scientists haven't been able to confirm that this material is from Earth. Instead, many believe that it has meteoric origins for some very obvious reasons. It's nearly pure silica, which needs a temperature above 1600 degrees Celsius to form. Not a single other igneous rock requires that much temperature to form. Scientists believe that glass probably formed during the impact of the meteorite, or maybe because of the melting caused by an airburst from an asteroid burning up high in Earth's atmosphere. Many studies have been done to understand this desert glass, but there's still no definitive proof to confirm its origin. Number 6. Wadi al-Hitan. What I'm going to tell you next will definitely have you thinking, what? Seriously? Well, did you know there was a time when whales could walk? Yeah, you heard that right. About 100 kilometers southwest of Cairo, Egypt, there's a valley called Wadi al-Hitan. The name literally means whale valley, and there's a reason why it's called that. Archaeologists found various fossils of marine creatures, and these fossils also included over 400 fossils of whales. But here's the twist. These fossils actually confirmed that whales were actually land-based animals that later turned into ocean-going mammals. Apparently, the skeletons that were discovered had feet, which confirmed that these ancient whales had feet and could move around on land. The skeletons are a very important and vivid demonstration of evolution that scientists have talked about for decades. Another thing that may pique your interest is that the feet of these whales were very short for their massive size. Also, these feet only had 3 toes. Imagine seeing whales with feet. I wonder if they only lived on land at that point or lived in the ocean as well. Archaeologists and scientists believe that Al-Hitan is home to the youngest archaeocetes that were in the very last stage of losing their hind limbs. Apart from that, about 60 different kinds of shellfish fossils were also discovered in the Whale Valley. Many might wonder, how on earth did marine animals get to this place? Well, About 40 million years ago, this valley was actually a part of the sea and was covered by water. However, due to the shifting tectonic plates, the water moved and land took its place. Due to the extremely dry and hot temperature, the fossils of the animals left behind were well preserved. Today, Wadi al-Hitan is the biggest open-air museum where centuries-old fossils and rocks are kept for people who are passionate about them to witness. The government has strict laws for the protection of this area and everything that's found here. No one is allowed to destroy or alter the fossils or other things in this museum, which is one reason why these skeletons are in good shape even right now. Number 7. Giant crocodile Machimasaurus rex. The Machimasaurus rex was the giant crocodile that somehow managed to survive a Jurassic extinction. The paleontologists, who've been working in the Tunisian part of the Sahara Desert for years, found skeletons of the world's largest sea-dwelling crocodile. According to the findings, these prehistoric creatures were over 30 feet long and weighed well over 3 tons. It's said that their skull alone was over 5 feet long, while the rest of the body, including the tail, made up to 25 feet of length. The lead author, Federico Fanti, described the species as massive. He stated that they were as big as a bus. Not just that, he also stated that these crocodiles were most probably at the top of the food chain in their time, at least in the Sahara Desert area. The fossils were found just a few inches under the sediment on the edge of the Sahara Desert in Tunisia. And just so you know, Tunisia is known for being rich with fossils. It's also important to mention that the location where the fossils were found once had a lagoon that faced the ocean. And here's another interesting thing. The group of crocodiles that Monsieur Rex is considered to be a part of were believed to have gone extinct about 150 million years ago. However, the fossils they found confirmed that this specific M. rex was alive about 130 million years ago, meaning the species didn't actually go extinct. Imagine if that thing still existed. The oceans would have looked different from the way they do now. Number 8. Timgad. This is another lost city that was once much more advanced and developed than the other lost cities found in the Sahara Desert. The city of Timgad was a Roman city in the Ors Mountains of Algeria. Founded by the Roman Emperor Trajan back in the 100 CE, this city once thrived with life. The full name of this city was Colonia Marciana Ulpia Traiana Timgadi. Apparently, Trajan had named it after his mother, Marcia, eldest sister, Ulpia Marciana, and father, Marcus Ulpius Traianus. The ruins of this once amazing city are located about 35 kilometers east of the city of Batna, and trust me when I say that it is one important place when it comes to an ancient city presenting a proper grid plan. The Roman town planning was fully implemented in this city as 2 perpendicular routes ran through the city. Not only that, but its square enclosure and orthogonal design based on the Cardo and Decumanus are just outstanding. In fact, you can find this similar style used in several cities in the world today too. Despite being a highly developed city, Timgad was destroyed by Berber tribes at the end of the 5th century. However, in 539 CE, when the Moorish Wars were happening, the Byzantine general Solomon took over the city and rebuilt it. A few activities were revived during this time, but then, during the early Muslim conquests, things declined again. And this marked the final ruin of the city of Timgad, as everyone had left the city by the 8th century. After this, for a long time, the city was almost buried in the sand of the desert. But well, now it's there for everyone to explore. Number 9. Megalake. In the Sahara Desert, one could never imagine seeing water, let alone a whole lake. But scientists recently found out that the Sahara Desert was once home to the world's largest freshwater lake. And this prehistoric megalake was formed about 250,000 years ago when the Nile River pushed through a low channel near Wadi Tushka. Due to this, the eastern Sahara got flooded, ultimately turning into a lake that covered about 42,000 square miles of area. The mark you see in the images is not something ordinary. It's a testament that there was once a lot of water in this specific place. Scientists say that this megalake had a size reaching about 810 feet above sea level. But there was a smaller lake there as well. This smaller one was about 623 feet above sea level and covered about 18,600 square miles of area. The evidence of this megalake was discovered when geologist Ted Maxwell and his colleagues were studying radar data of Egypt that was taken by the Space Shuttle Radar Topography mission. What led to this lake to dry up is yet to be confirmed. But for the most part, it is believed that it either dried up because of the extreme weather or the lake made a way out and the water moved from this place. Number 10. The Dabous giraffes. In the heart of the Sahara, you'll find the Tenere Desert. It's a flat, waterless place that literally means emptiness in the Tamashek language. Just by the side of the Aya Mountains, archaeologists discovered about 800 petroglyphs. But what stands out the most are the carvings of 2 giraffes. These carvings are called the Dabous giraffes, which were first recorded in 1987 by Christian Dupuy. After the discovery, many more carvings were found, and more than 700 of them were images of animals. These images included ostriches, buffalo, lions, rhinoceros, camels, and antelopes. But that's not all that's there. In fact, over 60 petroglyphs are of humans, while 160 of them are said to be open to interpretation. But the giraffes are the most interesting ones, as they are believed to be about 6,000 to 8,000 years old. Engraved on the sandstone rock, these engravings survived a long time. To top that off, the little details in these engravings are pretty impressive. And if I talk about the size of these carvings, the 2 giraffes are different in size. The smaller one seems to represent the female, while the larger one is most likely a representation of the male giraffe towering up to 21 feet. Not to mention, this also makes it the largest known stone carving of an animal. Many scientists believe that these carvings show the attempts to domesticate these wild animals. Now, I wonder if they ever succeeded in doing so. Number 11. The Eye of the Sahara. Over the years, scientists have proposed several theories about how the Sahara was actually formed, but the most recent one is probably the most acceptable one. It's believed that the eye's formation started over 100 million years ago when the supercontinent Pangaea was ripped apart due to plate tectonics. These ripped parts are now known as Africa and South America today. It is said that when the supercontinent was breaking apart, molten rock was also pushed up to the surface. However, instead of erupting properly, the process didn't get completed, and the dome of rock layers that we see today was formed. This molten rock not only formed the eye of the Sahara, but also dissolved limestone present in the center area. This process caused the center of the eye to collapse, forming a rock called breccia. But this wasn't the end of it. A little after this, the eye erupted, and this time, the bubble collapsed part way, and the rest of the structure that we see now was formed due to erosion. The rings you see were formed by different types of rocks eroding at different speeds. The view of the Eye of the Sahara is the best when seen from space. After all, it looks like a legit eye in the vast, unbroken sea of sand. Number 12. The Tashwinut mummy. Thinking about mummies, one would say that they were all found in the pyramids, or maybe the one found in the Alps called Iceman Otzi. But what if I tell you that the world's oldest mummy was actually found in the Sahara Desert? The Tashwinut mummy, also known as the Ouane Muhugiag mummy, was found in Ouane Muhugiag, a rock shelter in southwestern Libya, which is now a part of the Sahara Desert. The mummy is of a child and was discovered in one of the caves in the area by Professor Fabrizio Mori in 1958. The cave where the mummy was found showed signs of being occupied and housing people at different times. The walls were painted, and there were images of animals, cattle, and humans too. While checking the cave, Professor Mori realized that the floor of the cave was sandy and soft. When they dug into the ground just a little under the surface, he found a weird and strange bundle. After some more digging, it turned out to be a mummy of a child wrapped in goat skin with wild herbs that probably helped with the preservation. The child was probably about 3 years old at the time of death, and the mummy is said to be about 54000 to 56000 years old, making it much older than any other mummies found in the world. Number 13. The city of Timbuktu. Many have heard the name of this city, but the amount of mysteries it holds is just astonishing. Even though it's just a small city now, Timbuktu was not so ordinary back in the day. It is said to be the place that housed over 333 saints, but how it was founded is even stranger. Historians state that the city was found by a mysterious Tuareg woman who was looking for water for dromedaries. She then found the water and made a well around it. This well is still present in the city museum. The caravans would stop at the well and exchange gold and other goods for water. Not only it became important because of the water, but also because this city fell right in the middle of a trading route. Over the years, many rulers arrived here, and the city saw development that challenged cities like Cairo. It was once one of the most important places for Quranic education, as the scholars would stay here, and students from all around the world came to gather knowledge. However, by the 19th century, things started to decline, and the former glory became a distant memory. Today, the city houses the ruins of once grand buildings, and it's just another city with nothing too important going on here. Scientists have studied the city of Timbuktu for years, and it's safe to say that if things had worked well, it wouldn't have looked like a lost city today. Most of its parts have been abandoned today, telling the tales of the past. Number 14. Tree of Tenere. This one is for the people who think they're alone in this world. The Tenere tree was the most isolated tree on Earth, as it stood alone in the Sahara Desert without a single friend around. It was the last tree from a group of trees that once grew in the desert when it was much less parched than it is now. In 1939, after a well was dug near the tree, it was confirmed that the tree roots had reached the water table about 118 feet below the surface. Over the years, it stood as a landmark in the middle of the desert. However, in 1973, an allegedly drunk driver knocked the tree over, and that was the end of its lonely life. The dead tree was then moved to the Niger National Museum in the capital Niamey, and today, a simple metal structure has been placed in its place, reminding everyone of the mighty tree that survived harsh weather and all other conditions alone. Number 15. Fennec foxes. Most discoveries in the Sahara may look terrifying or related to history somehow, but this little discovery is probably the cutest one out there. These teeny canids are even smaller than your domestic cats, almost around 14 to 16 inches long, not including their tails. But what makes them even more unique are their ears. Their massive ears can be over 6 inches long, but they are there for two main purposes. The Fennec foxes use their enormous ears not only to shade in the heat, but also to hear the sound of rodents, insects, and many other ambler animals that they prey on. They are so well adapted to living in the harsh weather of the Sahara Desert that one would wonder if they'd even like living in a little moderate conditions. And that's all for today, everyone. I hope you got to learn something new from this video. If so, don't forget to drop a comment about it. Also, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel because I'll be back with many more amazing videos soon. See you in the next one.